Welcome to Geo Wars Explained, where every war is not just a story. Disclaimer: this channel provides commentary and analysis on historical and crumps.
The convoy dies before anyone hears the first shot. Corporal Hassan Musa feels the impact through the steel floor, a deep, shuddering boom that lifts the entire BTR-60 armored personnel carrier 2 feet off the cratered road. His teeth slam together. The taste of copper floods his mouth. Through the firing port, he watches the lead vehicle transform into a rolling fireball, black smoke geysering skyward as burning soldiers tumble out like dying stars. Out! Everyone out!
Scatter!
The rear doors
the
burst
buildings!
open.
Move!
Hassan hits the ground running, boots pounding red dust that hasn't seen rain in 4 months. The Nile River Valley stretches away to his left, that ancient artery of civilization now marking the front line between Sudan People's Liberation Army guerrillas and government forces. He's 19 years old, conscripted 3 months ago from his mathematics program at Khartoum University. And he's already learned that survival in Sudan's infinite war means constant movement. The bridge ahead, old British colonial construction from the 1920s, should have been their salvation. Instead, it's become a killing ground. His unit scatters across the embankment. 12 men. 2 are already down, sprawled in positions that tell Hassan they won't stand again. Sergeant Khalil waves frantically toward a cluster of destroyed mud brick buildings, remnants of a village that died in some previous phase of this 50-year war. Hassan runs, lungs burning, rifle clutched across his chest. Behind him, the ammunition truck explodes with a sound like God tearing the sky in half. The shockwave throws him forward. He tastes dirt, blood, cordite. His ears ring with a high, persistent whine. When he lifts his head, he sees them. SPLA fighters, emerging from spider holes dug into the riverbank, from beneath destroyed buildings, from inside rusted shipping containers half buried in the sand. They've been waiting, maybe for days. Hassan rolls behind a collapsed wall as bullets chew the ground where his head was. The ancient bricks, sun-baked for decades before this war began in 1955, crumble under the impacts. He recognizes the sound. AK-47s, the immortal weapon of Africa's endless conflicts. His own Chinese-made Type 56 feels inadequate, like bringing a torch to fight the sun. Khalil makes it to the wall, blood streaming from his scalp. The radio. Did anyone grab the fucking radio? No one answers. They all know. The radio burned with the command vehicle. Hassan counts heads. 7 survivors now, including himself. Private Yusuf is gut-shot, trying to hold his intestines inside with both hands. The boy's 16, lied about his age to escape poverty in Darfur. He won't see 17. Hassan looks away, forcing down to bile. "We can't hold here," Corporal Ahmed shouts, firing blind over the wall. "They'll flank us in minutes." Khalil's eyes dart like trapped animals. Hassan watches his sergeant calculate the impossible mathematics of survival. The bridge is compromised, the convoy destroyed, reinforcements are 40 kilometers away across hostile territory. The village ruins offer no real cover. The river is too exposed. Every option ends in death. Then, Hassan sees it. 300 meters north, partially hidden by acacia trees, an old irrigation station, concrete construction, probably 1960s, the kind of structure built to last, to survive Sudan's endless cycle of war and drought and war again. Small windows, elevated position, clear sightlines. A fortress if they can reach it. "There," he points, "the pump station." Khalil follows his gesture. For 1 second, that crystalline moment of battlefield clarity, their eyes meet. Khalil nods. "Covering fire! Move in pairs! Ahmed, Yusuf!" "I'll carry him." Hassan is already moving, slinging his rifle, gripping Yusuf under the arms. The boy weighs nothing, already emptying into the dust. Hassan feels warm blood soaking through his uniform. Ahmed lays down suppressing fire, the Type 56 chattering in short, disciplined bursts. Hassan runs, half dragging Yusuf, every muscle screaming. Bullets snap past like angry hornets. Behind them, the SPLA fighters are advancing, using the convoy's burning hulks for cover. Professional soldiers, veterans of decades of conflict, moving with the easy confidence of predators. Hassan makes 60 meters before his legs give out. He collapses behind a dead acacia, branches stripped bare from previous firefights. Yusuf's breathing has gone shallow, rattling. His eyes are distant, seeing some other place. Maybe his home, maybe heaven, maybe nothing. Stay with me, brother. Stay! The bullet hits the tree trunk 6 inches from Hassan's head, exploding wood into his face. He doesn't think, just moves, dragging Yusuf another 20 meters toward the pump station. Ahmed is running now too, rifle empty, throwing it aside, pulling his sidearm. Then Ahmed's head snaps back in a spray of red mist, and he's gone, body tumbling forward with that horrible puppet string limpness of sudden death. Hassan wants to scream. Instead, he runs. The pump station door hangs on broken hinges. Hassan kicks it wide, drags Yusuf inside, spins back with his rifle raised. Khalil and 3 others are sprinting across the open ground. 2 make it. The third, Hassan doesn't know his name, a replacement conscript from Port Sudan, catches a burst across his spine and falls face first, body seizing. Khalil dives through the doorway, rolls, comes up in firing position. Bar the door! Windows! They scattered to positions. Hassan finds himself at a narrow window overlooking the approach. His hand shakes so badly he can barely load a fresh magazine. Outside, the SPLA fighters have halted, taking cover, assessing. Hassan counts at least 20, maybe more in the tree line. For a moment, there's near silence. Just the crackle of burning vehicles, the wind through dead branches, Yusuf's wet breathing growing weaker. Khalil slides down next to Hassan, checking his ammunition. 6 magazines. You? 4. Mahmoud, the other survivor, maybe 30, one of the regular army soldiers in their conscript unit, holds up 3 fingers. Khalil does the math. Against 20 guerrillas with unlimited ammunition, fighting on their own ground, knowing this territory the way a man knows his own body, the equation has no positive solution. We wait for dark, try to slip out, make for... The words die as engines growl in the distance. Hassan's stomach drops. He knows that sound. Every soldier in Sudan knows that sound. Through the window, he watches them emerge from the bush. 2 Toyota Hilux pickup trucks, the immortal weapon platform of African wars, each mounting a Soviet-era DSK heavy machine gun, 12.7 millimeter rounds, big enough to tear through this concrete like paper. Allah preserve us, Mahmoud whispers. The technicals take position 400 meters out, angling for clear fields of fire. Hassan watches the gun crews work with practiced efficiency, loading belts of ammunition, transversing their weapons. They're taking their time. No rush. They have all day to reduce this building to rubble, to dig the bodies out of the ruins. Behind Hassan, Yusuf stops breathing. The silence is profound. Hassan turns, sees the boy's eyes fixed on nothing, the last expression one of mild surprise. He's seen death before. In the conscription camps, during the desert march to the front, and yesterday's ambush outside Damazin. But each time strikes fresh, like a wound that won't heal. He's gone. Khalil's voice is flat, empty. Focus on the living. But who is left to focus on? 3 men, against an army, in a concrete box that will become their tomb the moment those heavy guns open up. Hassan thinks of his mother in Omdurman, his sisters, his university friends who escaped conscription through family connections. He thinks of Sudan itself, this ancient land that has known nothing but war for his entire lifetime, the oldest war in modern Africa, the endless cycle of Arab North versus African South, Muslim versus Christian, government versus rebels, tribe versus tribe, warlord versus warlord, all of it bleeding into one infinite loop of violence. The first DSK opens fire. The sound is apocalyptic, a bass-heavy roar that shakes dust from the ceiling. Concrete explodes inward, fist-sized chunks spinning through the air. Hassan flattens himself as the window above him disintegrates. The second gun joins in, tracer rounds drawing bright lines through the air, punching through the walls like they're cardboard. Khalil is screaming something, but Hassan can't hear over the thunder. He crawls toward the back of the building where the concrete is thickest, where the ancient pump machinery offers some cover. His ears are bleeding. Everything is dust and noise and the certainty of death. Then, silence. The guns stop. Hassan's ears ring in the sudden quiet. He lifts his head cautiously, sees Khalil and Mahmoud, still alive, coated in white dust like ghosts. The front wall is Swiss cheese, light streaming through 100 holes. Outside, voices shout in Arabic, mixed with Dinka. The SPLA fighters are arguing about something. Hassan catches fragments. Waste ammunition. Just burn them out. Commander wants prisoners. Prisoners. Hassan's blood freezes. He knows what happens to government soldiers captured by the SPLA. He's seen the bodies left as messages along the roads. Men with hands bound, bullet holes in the backs of their heads. Sometimes worse. Much worse. Khalil crawls close, lips next to Hassan's ear. When they rush the door, we fight. Understood? We fight until we can't. Hassan nods. His rifle feels like it weighs 100 pounds. He checks the magazine. 23 rounds. He thinks, which of these bullets is mine? The one I'll use when the others run out, when they're coming through the door, when there's no other choice. But before he can complete the thought, the world transforms again. The sound comes first, a deep, rhythmic thumping that Hassan feels in his chest before he consciously hears it. Helicopter. No, helicopters. Multiple rotors cutting the air. Through the shattered walls, he sees the SPLA fighters scattering, scrambling for cover. The technicals gun their engines, trying to relocate. Then the sky erupts. 2 Mi-24 Hind gunships sweep over the treetops like hunting hawks, nose-mounted guns already spinning. Tracer fire pours down in brilliant streams, chewing the ground where the rebels were positioned seconds before. A rocket pod ripples off one hind, and the lead technical vanishes in a white-hot explosion that sends the truck's frame cartwheeling through the air. Hassan can't breathe, can't think, can only watch as Sudan's war machine, his own side, government forces, tears into the ambush with overwhelming firepower. The hinds circle like predators, firing again and again. The SPLA fighters are retreating now, abandoning their positions, dragging wounded, leaving weapons scattered across the killing ground. Within 90 seconds, it's over. The helicopters make one final pass, slow and low, crews scanning for targets. Finding none, they settle into a hover near the convoy's burning remains. Hassan sees troops fast-roping down, regular army, not conscripts, wearing clean uniforms and carrying modern weapons. A rescue force. Somebody with power cared enough to send them. Khalil starts laughing. It's a broken sound, halfway to sobbing. "We're alive! Allah forgive me, we're alive!" Hassan doesn't trust it, can't accept it. He stays frozen behind the pump machinery, rifle pointed at the door, waiting for the next twist, the next betrayal, the next moment of pure terror. But minutes pass, and nothing happens except soldiers calling out in Arabic, asking for survivors, setting up a perimeter. Finally, Mahmoud stands. "Come on, brothers, it's over!" They walk out into brilliant afternoon sunlight that seems impossible after the darkness of the pump station. The rescue force commander, a captain with a precise mustache and a lieutenant's insignia, approaches, taking in their dust-coated forms, their bloodshot eyes, the way they flinch at every distant sound. "How many?" he asks. 3. We started with 12. The captain nods like he's heard this story 1,000 times before. Because he has. Because every unit has this story. Every patrol, every convoy, every position along the infinite front line. Men go out, some come back, the war continues. "We'll get you back to Damazin. Medical check, debriefing, 3 days rest." The captain glances at the destroyed convoy, the scattered bodies. Then, back to your unit. Back to the war. Back to the patrols and ambushes and desperate mathematics of survival. Because in Sudan, the war never ends. It only pauses, catches its breath, prepares for the next round. That night, in a makeshift barracks at Forward Operating Base Damazin, Hassan lies on a cot that smells of mold and desert dust and the sweat of 1,000 previous occupants. He can't sleep. Every time he closes his eyes, he sees Yusuf's surprised face, Ahmed's head snapping back, the nameless conscript falling face first into the red dust. Khalil sits by the window, smoking a cigarette someone gave him, staring out at nothing. "You ever wonder why?" Hassan asks quietly. "Why what? Why any of this? Why we're here? Why Sudan has been at war since before our fathers were born. He takes a long drag, exhales smoke that looks like ghost breath in the moonlight. My grandfather fought in the First Civil War, 1955 to 1972. 17 years. They called it the Anyanya Rebellion back then. Same fight, different name. When it ended, he thought he'd bought peace for his children. What happened? 1983, war started again. Second Sudanese Civil War. They called it that. 22 years. 2 million dead. They signed a peace treaty in 2005, promised it would last. 6 years later, South Sudan broke away. You'd think that would be the end. They got what they wanted, their own country. But no. Now we fight in Darfur, in South Kordofan, in Blue Nile State. The rebels changed names, changed uniforms, but the war, he taps ash, the war is eternal. Hassan processes this. 70 years of almost continuous conflict. Multiple generations born into war, raised in war, dying in war. But why? What are we even fighting for anymore? Oil, water, grazing rights, religion, ethnicity, power. Khalil counts them on his fingers. Take your pick. Arab Muslims in Khartoum trying to control African Christians and animists in the south. The Bashir regime, before it fell, used us to crush rebellion, to maintain control. After Bashir, same war, new uniforms. The Rapid Support Forces, the Transitional Military Council, the rebels turned government, the government turned rebels. It's all one continuous fight that just keeps changing names. Hassan thinks of his textbooks back in Khartoum, before conscription. He'd been studying the mathematics of chaos theory, systems so complex that tiny changes create massive, unpredictable outcomes. Sudan is chaos theory made flesh. Every peace agreement contains the seeds of the next war. Every victory breeds new insurgency. Every border drawn in blood is immediately contested. 2023. That's when this current phase really exploded. RSF versus Sudan Armed Forces. Khartoum turned into a battlefield. Massacres in Darfur, again, always fucking Darfur. The Janjaweed militias from the 2000s genocide, they became the RSF. Same men, same tactics, different acronym. They say 12,000 dead in the first 6 months. That's just the ones they counted. My cousin's entire neighborhood in Omdurman got shelled to rubble. Just gone. Hassan remembers. Even in university, they'd felt it. The streets emptying, professors disappearing, friends fleeing to Egypt or Chad or anywhere else. Then the conscription notices came, and suddenly he was a soldier in a war he didn't understand, fighting for a government he didn't trust, against enemies who were often just conscripts like himself from different regions, different tribes, different circumstances. The SPLA fighters today, you think they know why they're fighting? Same as us. Because someone with power told them to. Because if they don't, they starve or get killed by their own commanders. Because this is Sudan, and fighting is what we do. Khalil crushes out his cigarette. My son is 3 years old. You know what I think about every day? That in 15 years he'll be sitting where you are wondering why his country has been at war for 85 years straight. The thought sits heavy in the room. Hassan imagines it. An infant born today, raised in refugee camps or embattled cities, conscripted as a teenager into whatever faction controls his region by 2040. Dying in some ambush or bombing or massacre that's just the latest iteration of the same endless conflict. There has to be a way out, Hassan says. But even as the words leave his mouth, he knows how naive they sound. Khalil doesn't mock him, though, just nods slowly. Maybe. But every time we think we found it, every peace agreement, every power-sharing agreement, every referendum, something breaks it. Personal ambitions, foreign interference, resource scarcity, ethnic tensions, climate change drying up the water sources, forcing tribes into conflict. It's like the country itself is cursed. Or maybe it's just that the people making decisions have never been the ones bleeding in the dust.
Khalil looks at him with something like respect. That's the truth of it. The generals and politicians negotiate in air-conditioned rooms. We die in the sun. They sign papers. We bury our brothers. They start the next war. We fight it. 3 days later, rest period over, bodies not nearly healed, Hassan's unit receives new orders. A supply convoy heading northwest toward al-Fashir, right through Darfur's devastated heart. Someone in command decided that 12 conscripts and 2 regular army soldiers are sufficient protection through territory that's seen some of the worst violence of Sudan's infinite war. They load into new BTR-60s, old Soviet cast-offs, maintained through cannibalization and prayer. Hassan takes the same position he had before, firing port, rifle ready, eyes scanning the same red dust and dead trees that could hide death at any moment. But something is different this time. The fear is still there, sharp and constant, but underneath it Hassan feels something else, a kind of bitter acceptance. This is his life now. This is Sudan's life. The war will continue regardless of his understanding, regardless of his survival, regardless of anything except its own terrible momentum. They roll north through villages that exist only as ruins, mud brick walls collapsed, wells poisoned, fields burned. Sometimes they see people, refugees walking south with everything they own in plastic bags, heading toward camps that are themselves targets. The refugees don't wave, the soldiers don't wave back. Everyone understands. They're all just trying to survive the next day. Near the 3rd checkpoint, they pass a mass grave. It's unmarked except for a hand-painted sign in Arabic, Martyrs of June 2024. Fresh earth, recent digging. Hassan doesn't ask how many bodies lie beneath that red soil. Doesn't want to know. Khalil, riding in the commander's hatch, spits into the dust. Could be government victims, could be rebel victims, could be civilians caught between. Does it matter? It doesn't. That's the crushing truth. In Sudan's war, there are no good guys and bad guys, no clear right and wrong, just different groups fighting for survival, for power, for revenge, for resources, each side committing atrocities that justify the other side's atrocities in an infinite loop of blood. The convoy makes it to al-Fashir without incident. Hassan expects to feel relief, but there's nothing, just numbness. The city is a fortress, walls of sandbags, checkpoints every 100 meters, armored vehicles dug in at intersections. The civilian population has either fled or learned to exist between the violence, conducting business in the brief quiet moments, disappearing when the shooting starts. They offload supplies at the central depot. A colonel with dead eyes barely glances at the manifest. You're staying 3 days. Reinforcements. The RSF is massing northeast of the city. They'll hit us within a week. Sir, 3 days. Then back to your unit. Dismissed. That night, Hassan finds himself on watch duty atop a building overlooking the main approach route. The city sprawls below. Occasional lights flickering where someone has a generator or solar panel. Beyond the perimeter, complete darkness. Somewhere in that darkness, enemy forces are gathering. Maybe. Maybe not. Intelligence is unreliable. Everything is unreliable, except the certainty of more fighting. Mahoud joins him at the corner position. The older soldier has barely spoken since the ambush. Now he lights a cigarette, offers one to Hassan. Don't smoke. Start, it helps. Hassan takes it. They smoke in silence, watching nothing happen. I was a school teacher, before all this, in Nyala. I taught mathematics to grade 8 students. I was studying mathematics at Khartoum University. Then you know the beauty of it, how numbers don't lie, how equations balance, how there's always a solution if you work the problem correctly. Yes, this war is the opposite. Nothing balances, the problems have no solutions, the numbers are all body counts. Mahoud exhales smoke. I had 42 students in my last class. When the RSF came through Nyala in August 2023, I lost track of most of them. I know 7 are dead. The rest? Refugees, child soldiers, scattered. The school is rubble. My home is rubble. My wife and daughter made it to Chad at least. They're alive. Why did you stay? Because running doesn't end it. The war follows. Darfur, Khartoum, Blue Nile, South Kordofan, it spreads like disease. So I fight. Not because I believe in the government or the cause or anything, except that maybe, somehow, if enough of us survive, if enough of us remember there was something before the war, we can build something after. I want to believe this. Want to think there's an after. But 70 years of history argues otherwise. Sudan has known war longer than it's known peace. The colonial borders drawn by Britain and Egypt in 1956 created a nation that was never unified, never stable, always fracturing along ethnic and religious lines. Every peace is temporary. Every ceasefire is preparation for the next battle. Do you really think there's a way out? Hassan considers this for a long time. I think there has to be, because the alternative, that this continues forever, that your son and my grandson fight the same war in 2050, 2070, 2100, that's not survival. That's just slow extinction.
The attack comes on the fourth day. Not the predicted RSF assault from the northeast, but a coordinated strike from 3 directions simultaneously. Rebels, militias, and irregulars who've joined together for this operation. The first Hassan knows of it is the whistle of incoming mortars, then the crump, crump, crump of impacts walking across the depot compound. He's moving before conscious thought catches up, rolling off his bunk, grabbing his rifle, following the drill they've practiced 100 times. Outside, the world is chaos, explosions, tracers, smoke obscuring everything. Someone is screaming for a medic. A supply truck burns like a beacon. Khalil appears through the smoke, face grim. Northern wall, they're coming through. Everyone up! Hassan runs with Mahmoud and 3 others toward the breach. When they arrive, he sees government troops already engaged, regular soldiers and conscripts mixed together, firing from behind sandbags as enemy fighters pour through a gap blown in the wall. The incoming fire is intense, organized, professional. These aren't just rebels anymore. These are coordinated military forces. They take positions, add their fire to the desperate defense. Hassan empties a magazine, reloads, empties another. The rifle barrel grows hot. His shoulder aches from the recoil. Enemy fighters fall, but more keep coming. For every one they kill, 2 more appear. A mortar round hits the position to Hassan's left. The concussion throws him backward, ears ringing. When his vision clears, he sees the sandbag wall collapsed. 3 soldiers down, 1 dead, 2 screaming, one of them missing both legs below the knee. Mahmoud crawls to the wounded, starts applying tourniquets with steady hands, schoolteacher hands. Hassan provides covering fire, conscious that his ammunition is running low. Around them, the battle has devolved into a close-range nightmare. Grenades, small arms, hand-to-hand fighting where the lines collapse. Then Hassan hears it, the deep bass roar of diesel engines. Through the smoke, he sees them. 3 more technicals, heavy guns traversing toward the wall. They're going to cut through the defenders like a scythe through wheat. "Fall back!" someone screamed. "Fall back to secondary line!" But there is no secondary line, just the depot, the streets, the city interior. If they fall back, the enemy takes the depot. If the depot falls, the city can't resupply. If the city can't resupply, Hassan makes a decision that isn't really a decision at all, just the only possible move in an impossible situation. He grabs a rocket-propelled grenade launcher from a dead soldier, checks the single remaining round, stands. "Hassan, no!" Khalil's voice. He ignores it. He steps into the open, sights on the lead technical, fires. The RPG round flies true, a perfect shot, his mathematical brain calculating angle and windage and drop instinctively. It strikes the engine block, and the vehicle explodes in a gout of flame that sends the heavy gun spinning through the air. For 1 crystalline second, Hassan feels triumph. Then, the return fire finds him.
Faces appear above him, Khalil, Mahmoud, others. Their mouths move, but he can't hear the words. Someone is pressing on his chest, and it hurts. It hurts worse than anything he's ever felt, but he can't make his mouth work to tell them to stop. His vision tunnels, gets dark at the edges. He thinks, this is it. This is how I die. 19 years old, mathematics student, killed in a war I don't understand, in a country that's been bleeding since before my father was born. But then, Hassan writes until dawn, recording everything he can remember. Outside, Cairo wakes to another day of peace. And 500 miles south in Sudan, the war continues its infinite dance, soldiers and rebels and civilians caught in the ancient, terrible rhythm of violence that began before they were born and will likely continue after they're gone. The mathematics of chaos. No solution, no equation that balances. Just survival, one day at a time, until the numbers run out.